I see Tessa Hill-Aston, the president of the Baltimore NAACP, and if I can wave her over here. Ms. Hill-Aston, hi, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. We're live on television. I just wanted to get you. It's okay. It's all right. Sorry. Live television's, yeah.
So tell me that.
Yeah, that's right. You have to, right? There's no safety net in live TV, right? So, talk to me about your reaction. You stood right next to Miss Mosby as she was saying what she was saying. How did it strike you?
Well, I support everything that she said. I support the state's attorney's actions and what they had to do. I personally wanted the trials to continue because I think each of the police should have gone through, I don't want to say anxiety or go through the daily process of the court. I think that should have happened. But based on what she says, I completely understand about the money and the time, and it didn't look like it would be a win-win. So the justice didn't happen the way that the community wanted it to happen. And I spoke to Freddie Gray's mother and father. So, but I support the state's attorney and what she did. The good thing is that she made some charges. The good thing is that we got police in court for their actions. The good thing is that we have cameras in the vans. The good thing is that police behavior might look different now in most cases. I hope when any officers, because most of them are good, but I hope when police get to roll call in the morning and leave out of their districts to go to their posts in the neighborhoods, I hope, especially in African-American communities such as this, that they think about what they have to do and who they're dealing with and not hurt anyone.
She mentioned the gains that were made in this prosecution, even though it had failed to result in a conviction. Body-worn cameras, vans with cameras in them, the order for seatbelts, that you must be seatbelted in the back of that van, and the software verification that officers can no longer say, I didn't receive that general order, I never read it, I never opened my email. There's now a software verification program in place. All of these things were something that Commissioner Davis had rolled out very systematically over the last, I guess 8 months or so, maybe a little bit more. She says those are the gains that we made here. Let me ask you a question, though. Is that enough for this neighborhood? Is that enough for this city? Is that enough to help move this issue forward, if at all incremental?
I think it is, but it's probably not enough because we still have to deal with human beings. Those cameras are there, all the equipment is there, the rules are there, but we still sometimes have an officer that doesn't follow the rules and lose control of himself. So when an officer or anybody loses control, the rules don't apply because they forget about the rules when they're out in the street and touch and hurt someone. So we're hoping, and I'm hoping, that with the rules in place, that if they do something wrong, that we'll have more documentation to take them to court and have justice for someone who's injured or dies.
And we're also looking at a civilian review board too, so civilians have that chance as well. Ms. Mosby, the tone she struck, especially toward the end, was it reverent? Was it defensive? Was she able to speak for the first time in so many months, and we're trying to fight back against some of the things?
I think she wanted to get that out. I think that she was showing a side of being a lawyer and a state's attorney, and I think she was showing a side of being an African-American mother, and that the hurt and pain is that she didn't get justice for Freddie's family the way that she wanted to. But she feels proud that she made the indictments, and she feels proud of the changes that have come about based on what stance that she took a year ago.
So how does this community digest this?
Well,
because now a lot of people that we're speaking to say, it seems that we still don't have a conviction. No one. You're telling me that Freddie Gray died inside that van and nobody was at fault. That's the Cliff Notes version that a lot of people are saying. How do you combat that?
That's the painful part. People are hurting. They support Marilyn Mosley, but they're hurt that a police didn't get convicted or somebody didn't get charged with something out of 6 officers, because the bottom line is we know Freddie's dead. And what the people see in the community, what happens to them or us if we get locked up, it would be different. So we have to change some rules and regulations in the court system and the legal system of police behavior.
And that's not just a campaign here in Baltimore, that's a national campaign.
That's national. What we're talking about, this speech that was done here today and the people that's here today, we could just shift this to Baton Rouge, to New York. We could go anywhere across the United States where another African-American man has died at the hands or been shot when he's chasing a person that he was trying to help, and the police didn't know why he shot him.
You're the NAACP president for the Baltimore branch.
Yes.
Can we talk optics real quick of
Yes.
this press conference in front of that mural, the tone that she struck, playing into a national conversation that's going on in Philadelphia right now, the Democratic National Convention? How many people are going to look at this? What is the impact of what she did on this corner?
I think it's going to impact in a positive way. I think they understand. There's some people that have been saying negative things about her, but those people are people in law enforcement that are against the process of an officer in blue being indicted in the first place. People, we've gotten lots of phone calls, and she's gotten hate mail, but most of them come from people who work in the penal system or in the police department who don't want any officer to be charged with anything, and they have no regards for African Americans' life. The letter said that all N should be dead, and her too, because she's an N. They used the N word. When I just got back from the national convention of the NAACP last week in Cincinnati, and people all over the United States were talking about Freddie Gray and the case. Everybody was talking about all the names of victims of the past year that have died or hurt by the hands of a police that is African American. Their face was on the screen at the NAACP convention. We will not forget. And we won't stop working for justice for all people not to be injured or murdered by a police officer.
That work happens a level up from where we're at now. How do you take the information that happened today, the ceasing of these trials, and to move people from this moment to let's work in our legislatures to fix this judicial system? That's your job, is it not? And how do you bring people to that moment?
Number one, right now we're getting ready to start a massive voter registration drive. And so that drive will be, thank God, with people who were ex-offenders who now have the right to vote, who have been victims of some of this kind of stuff. So what we need to do now is get people to go to the polls, vote their conscience, vote the right way. And the other thing is that some of these people that are in this community, we need to get them to come into meetings, to go to Annapolis, to help us with legislation so they can hear from the people in the streets' voice and their concerns and see their face. We need to take busloads of people to Annapolis into the criminal justice committees and the judicial committee, and we need to come up with some legislation that we can put forth and see if we can get changes made, that we can continue this process so when we have another victim, that the law has changed enough that it's not bad behavior, that it is a criminal offense that someone dies. It's not bad behavior, it's criminal. And that's what we have to do.
It's a big job.
It's a lot of big job, but I can't do it alone. I need everybody's help, and people who are out here, the people who complain, the people who are hollering, we need them to sit at the table.
Change anger to action.
That's right. We need the action and the bodies and the people to come with us to stand tall. We can't do it alone. Everybody needs to join forces, and there's all kinds of different groups in Baltimore, but we should be all on one accord. I'm not working against anybody. We should all be working together.
Ms. Tessa Hill-Aston, Baltimore President, NAACP. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.